Since his death, the media space has been filled with stories of the life and times of Dr. Chukwuemeka Ezeife, the Harvard-trained economist and first civilian governor of Anambra State between January 1992 to November 1993 during the aborted Third Republic. Fondly called Okwadike Iwoku in his hometown of Agwata local government area of Anambra State, Dr. Chukwuemeka Ezeife was born on November 20, 1938. He was a courageous man who was strong enough to speak truth to power and bear the devastating consequences on his personal comfort. He was many things rolled into one: a philosopher, statesman, Igboist, nationalist, political economist, activist, humanist, and humorist. Dr. Ezeife was a regular guest on our morning show program where he constantly gave positive comments on political issues in Nigeria.
When there is no conscience in politics, there will be no principle. And without principle, there can be no consistency. Now, we at the Igbo Elders group have principle, have consistency. We've said we don't want a vice president from our side. We want president. That's it. And now we haven't got it from the major parties. We don't want them to give us vice president either. So we work for president. And as it is now, we are, I think, not unlucky. The PDP, the APC, these two have reached the highest level. The highest bidders have taken everything. And we are not among the highest bidders. Our people make money from their sweat. So we are not regretting too much what happened. But so many things have gone wrong, even from among ourselves. Our leadership has not been clear and has not been strong enough to introduce discipline in the behavior of our political parties.
As preparation continues for his burial next week in Agwata local government area of Anambra State, we take a look at his life and times. Joining us now is Chief Rob Ezeife, Ezeife family head, and Dr. Okwese Zilieze Nwodo, Chairman, National Burial Committee for Chukwuemeka Ezeife. Good morning and welcome to the morning show, sir.
Thank you and good morning.
Thank you and good morning.
Well, good morning, sirs. First, condolences on the passing of Dr. Ezeife, who was a regular person on this program, contributing characteristically to national issues. But first, Chief Rob Ezeife, I would like you to tell us about the program, the burial plan. I know it's from April 12th to April 19th. Just to take us through the details from Abuja to the Thanksgiving, which is the last event on the schedule that I have seen. And Dr. Nwodo, to please talk to us about the life and times of Dr. Chukwuemeka Ezeife. Let's start with you, Chief Ezeife.
Thank you very much for inviting us for this discussion. That shows very kind regard you have for Dr. Chukwuemeka Ezeife, Okwadike Ndigbo. We have quite extensive programs or activities for the funeral of Dr. Ezeife. The head of the whole activities in Abuja here is His Excellency Dr. Okwese Nwodo. He's the chairman of the National Planning Committee that is organizing and executing all the programs. The first of one is The first one is interdenominational church service. That will take place on the 12th of this month, April, at the National Economical Center. Then after that, we have the life and times of Okwadike, demonstrated and exemplified by the Igbo people and the other people. They will come out at the center, and they will have music, they have dance, they will have the festival of what we call Mawu in a place. So it is mainly for entertainment, meant for the people to come and celebrate this man, to showcase what they think about him, and also to let the whole world realize that they have lost a very important person. After that, there will be on the 15th, Night of Tributes. During this Night of Tributes, people will come and say what they know about Dr. Okwadike Igboukwu. They come and try to express their feelings, hopefully to praise him and to make sure that his life is understood. His lives and times are understood by the majority of the people. After the 15th, the body will now leave Abuja. The body will leave Abuja as a former governor of Anambra State has his own program of burial for Okwadike. They will have what they call lying in state for the executive of Anambra State, where he will attend his last executive council, as it were. The members of the current executive will now file past and pay their respects to him. Then there will be a prayer offered by the Salvation Army. It's a member of the Salvation Army. A prayer will be offered by the Salvation Army for the repose of his soul. Thereafter, we could go to the convention center. The convention center right there in the secretariat. It is there that a lot of activities will take place and people will speak. So many people will come. In fact, the governor told me he is expecting about 2,000 people in the convention center. And at the convention center, a lot of things will happen. In fact, the Salvation Army again will lead these religious activities. Their band, which is a classical band, will perform. And a lot of people, including the traditional rulers, will be there to talk and speak about Wadike. It's a fairly elaborate ceremony, and I think it deserves it. Thank you very much.
Well, Dr. Nwodo, the life and times of Dr. Ezeife.
Thank you, Ruben. Thank you, your colleagues there with you. I want to say that His Excellency Dr. Chukwuemeka Ezeife lived a life of inspiration. I capture it as a life of inspiration because he started from very modest beginning. With the help of his parents, he was able to do primary school. And after that, he went to learn some trade in Aba. And while practicing some of these trades that he learned to make a livelihood, he studied on his own and was able to pass in those days what was the equivalent of our own West African School certificate now. They used to call it Cambridge. And having passed that, he applied to go to University of Ibadan, where he studied economics. Coming out in first class, he was able to get into Harvard University in the United States of America, where he did his master's and his PhD. He then came home to Nigeria, and before he coming home to join our civil service, he did some lecturing. And he lectured in various institutions within Nigeria, his alma mater at Ibadan, and in other African countries, including Makerere University. So from lecturing, he now came and joined our civil service and rose up to become a permanent secretary. When he left the civil service, he joined politics. And that was when the Babangida administration created two political parties, the NRC and the SDP. Governor Ezeife joined SDP and was elected governor of Anambra State, the first governor of that state after Enugu State was created from the old Anambra State, and now he became governor of the new Anambra State and the first governor there. Now, you can see from his background, this is a seasoned and a professional economist. And he made his mark in the federal government. And that also helped him when he came into politics, because he became a critic of even the governments that he was part of. Because Ezeife was never going to hide his feelings about what he felt passionately about. And he fought with everything he had to make his points. Now, some of that you have played in the introduction to this interview. Ezeife, for example, believed that God had endowed Nigeria with so much human and material resources that we needed to create a country that will be the pride of black people everywhere. He was disappointed that we didn't take that position the way we ought to. He felt that we would just not be the giants of Africa, but we should become that giant in actuality. Therefore, we must lead in democracy, we must lead in good governance, we must lead in delivering to our people means of livelihood in a solid economy. he was disappointed that we didn't achieve all that in his lifetime. And he fought very hard to advise the federal government and sub-regional governments to attain those heights. Then he also believed that we needed a Nigeria that was, solid in its propagation of equity, fairness, and justice. And he felt that his own people, the Igbo people, had the tail end of that policy. For example, Ezeife never felt it was right that after the Civil War, no matter how much anybody had in any bank in Nigeria, as long as you have an Igbo coming back from the war, you're only entitled to 20 pounds. And you can see how people have struggled with that 20 pounds. It is only now, after 3 attempts at the National Assembly, that we are beginning to see the light for the creation of a Southeast Commission. Over 50 years, we are promised reconciliation, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. All practice, I would say, in such a way that you could not see any of it. So maybe if we get a commission now, it will begin to address those 3 issues we were promised by General Gowon at the end of the war. Other parts of the country, where you have had crisis, the federal government quickly intervened and established a commission. For example, in the Northeast, and that commission has helped a lot in rebuilding the damages in the Northeast. This is what we want to happen in Southeast. Ezeife fought for that till he died. He believed we were terribly marginalized in Nigeria. And he was the voice of the voiceless. And most of the time, he put his own life on the line. And most of the times, he was helped by people who loved him and gave him information to go into hiding when they came after him. Now, that is why the Igbos, for he was our chairman of the Elders Forum in the 19 northern states and Abuja, will be celebrating him in Eagle Square with dance, pomp, and pageantry to celebrate his life and times and to show that they have lost a leader. That is why we have invited a cross-section of Nigerian leadership to talk to the world about Ezeife on the 15th, as Rob Ezeife had mentioned, in a national night of tributes. And we have invited the leadership of this country from across the length and breadth of our country to come for the night of tributes to eulogize Dr. Ezeife. Now, you can see in the East, most of us politicians classify ourselves as conservatives, but Dr. Ezeife classified himself as a progressive. And that is why, when we were governors together, all of us in the former Eastern region, and this includes Rivers State, it includes Cross River State, and what have you, we were all NRC governors. He was only SDP governor. But we never discriminated about party. We focused at that time on what we could do for our people. We played down on the party. But then, when we had the election, and Abiola's election was cancelled, Ezeife fought like a wounded lion. He joined the NEDECO and did everything he could to see that that mandate was restored. It gladdened his heart when he was posthumously recognized as the winner of that election. And then, when we formed the PDP, he was with us. But somewhere along the line, he didn't believe that we were going progressive. So he broke away with his friends and went and formed the Action Congress, AD. And he became the deputy chairman of the party for Southern Nigeria. He played a key role in the primary elections that brought our present president in his election to become governor of Lagos State. He worked very hard in that platform. And so you see, his burial, we have politicians across board participating actively in his burial. Because he was not a man who stood in one place. He stood where he felt there was truth, fairness, equity, and justice, and fought to make sure that those principles were observed. That's why we think we should celebrate him. We should celebrate people who live like this and led like this in our country. It is only when we celebrate people who have concentrated on intangibles, not building edifices, not acquiring money, that the true leadership will emerge in our country, be encouraged, and to fight for the good of the common man and the greatness of our country. This is the point we want to make in celebrating Ezeife, to encourage those who believe in such principles to step forward and do their best for our country, and they should hope that the way we plan to celebrate Dr. Ezeife, Nigeria should celebrate them when they pass on.
Well, thank you so very much, Dr. Nwodo, for paying fine tribute and fondly remembering an extraordinary life and the times of Dr. Ezeife. Thank you so much. And thank you, Chief Rob Ezeife, as well, for joining us this morning. We look forward to participating as a media station in the homegoing ceremonies of Dr. Ezeife. Thank you for your time this morning.